Hello, hello, and welcome to the Voice Den, session number 14. So good to see all of you here. I see already that chat is so active. I see Roger, Emily, Steve, Heidi. Oh, it's so great. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. We have an incredible lineup of Voicefluencers with you today. And today's a special day because my daughter's actually graduating from elementary school today as well. So after this, after the after party, I get to go to yet another party for my daughter's graduation. So that's gonna be a lot of fun. Thank you so much for being here. A big, big warm welcome to all of the new people, here in the den. I'm Teri Fisher, and I'm a physician and just a big voice tech fan. And one of the things that I always like to do at the beginning is say hello to anybody, particularly if you've not been here before. So if you are new to the Voice Den, please say hello in the chat and tell us where you are. Where are you in the world? And also, we also like to know what you're drinking. I have some sparkling water, and then I've got a sparkling bottle of apple pear juice waiting for the graduation party later on today. So that'll be fun. All right. Oh, Cheryl, thanks. Thanks for congrats to my daughter. So again, if you are new here, please put it in the chat. Let's say hello. Give everybody a big, warm Voice Den welcome. What I want to do is we need to thank our sponsors for this show, because without the sponsorship, this wouldn't be possible. And I want to give a huge shout out to a couple of really, really key sponsors. Of course, Amazon, I'm going to say the word. Hope your devices are muted. Amazon Alexa, thank you for being a sponsor of the Voice Den. As you may know, the Amazon developer community has a Slack channel, and you can join the Slack channel, talk with developers, talk with experts. You can talk with technical product teams, get answers to questions that you may have, share learnings, best practices, the whole bit through the Slack channel. So what I want to do is I'm going to put up the link to that. So in the chat, you click on that link, that will take you to the Slack channel. And so thank you to Amazon. Awesome. Thanks. As well, the other headliner sponsor is Google. Hey, Google Assistant. And as you may know, Google partners with Modev to create Voice Talks. And their next episode of Voice Talks is happening tomorrow. And a big theme of that is inclusivity. So I encourage you to check that out as well. I want to put the link in the chat, which will take you directly to the registration for that as well. And if you click on that, you can register for the latest edition of Voice Talks. So thank you to Google as well. Finally, last but certainly not least, I want to give a shout out to our sponsors, Audio Brain and Audrey Urbini and her team, who did all of the sonic branding that you hear during the show, the Voice Den, and also all the sonic branding that you're going to hear later on in the augmented reality spatial audio space for the after party. And there's Audrey in the chat. Hi, Audrey. Thank you so much for your incredible sonic branding. And Attention Live, Ian Utility, many of you will know he's been my partner with an upcoming project, VoiceCon Live on Clubhouse, and he produces all of the NFTs that are the collectible NFTs for the Voice Den as well. So thank you to Ian and the team at Attention Live. All right, so with that being said, we have some business to get down to. We need to meet today's Voicefluencers. And if you are new here, then you get a chance to ask questions to the Voicefluencers. And you can already start thinking about those questions you want to ask, because at the bottom of the screen, you're going to see a little button there. It says Ask a Question. That's where you can click on that button and type in your question for one or two of these Voicefluencers that you're about to meet. And then everybody else in the audience can vote on their favorite questions. And that's how we're going to pick who gets to come on screen and have short little discussions with our Voicefluencers. So let's get right to it, shall we? These are our Voicefluencers. This is an incredible lineup. We have Sarah Andrew Wilson, otherwise known as Content Queen. And if you know Sarah, that's a really, really good name for Sarah. She is the Chief Content Officer for Matchbox.io, the award-winning brand behind some of the most popular voice apps on Amazon Alexa, Google Assistant, and Samsung Bixby, including Question of the Day and Kids Quiz. In 2020, she was named an Alexa champion by Amazon and a top 12 voice AI leader by VoiceBot and a top 40 voice AI influencer by SoundHound. She previously spent 20 years in the music business working with internationally renowned performing artists and educators. So Sarah, great to have you here. We're going to get you up on screen in just a moment here. Next, we have Katy Boungard, otherwise known as, this is a great nickname, the Botyguard. And Katy is a content designer and producer for voice AI and digital, collaborating with startups, agencies, and publishers to create engaging experiences. I like this statement. Her mission is to protect and defend the creativity of bots, the Botyguard. In 2020, her work on the Art Museum Alexa skill earned grand prize recognition in the Alexa Conversations Challenge. Her background includes 7 years at Disney in brand marketing and content development, as well as leading creative strategy for an AI-powered branded content startup. And she has a Twitch channel where she plays voice games with Alexa every Friday afternoon. So I encourage you to definitely check that out as well. All right. Next, we have the first of two Steves. We're going to have to come up with a good way of... I'm seeing that stream just froze. Anybody seeing it's frozen, or can you hear me? Give me a thumbs up if you can hear me. Thumbs up if you can hear me, everybody, or comment in the chat. No. Anybody hear me? All right, good. We're just checking. Okay, fantastic. I don't want to keep talking and doing all these fantastic introductions without people being able to hear me. So great. I'm not sure what's going on there with yours, Andrew, but it looks like everybody's all right. So let's keep going here. As I said, this is the first of two Steves on our show. We'll probably have to go by last names or something. This is Steve Keller. And Steve is a guy that I met on Clubhouse, and Steve is incredible. He is the Sonic Strategy Director for Studio Resonate and SXM Media. They are an in-house, audio-first creative consultancy offering support to brands that advertise on the Pandora, SiriusXM, Stitcher, and SoundCloud platforms. His work and research explores the ways music and sound influence human perception and behavior. He is recognized as one of the world's leading authorities on sonic strategy, blending art and science into award-winning sonic strategies, sonic identities, and creative content for a variety of global agencies and brands. The Audio Alchemist. So great to have you here, Steve, as well. Next, we have the seamstress of stories, Ilana Meir, and she is a conversation designer in AR and VR with a special interest in cultural underpinnings of behavior. She speaks extensively on conversation design to audiences ranging from anthropologists to MBA students, including delivering the keynote address for the annual Voice of Healthcare conference. I was there. I heard that. It was amazing. Ilana is also a proud mentor and member of the leadership team for Women in Voice. And for her contributions to the design field and voice community, Speech Technology magazine named her a speech technology luminary. So great to have you here as well. And then last but certainly not least, our other Steve Tingiris, Chief Dabbler, the CEO of Dabble Lab, which is a technology, education, and services company that helps businesses accelerate learning and adoption of natural language processing, conversational AI, and other emerging technologies. Steve has been designing and building automation solutions for over 20 years and has consulted on conversational AI projects for companies including Amazon, Google, and Twilio. So awesome. So good to have you all here. I'm going to bring you all up on stage. I'd love for you to just say a quick hello to everybody, and then we're going to get right to the questions. So please feel free to click on that Ask a Question button, type your questions in there, and we'll get you up on stage here in just a few moments. So let's invite up our Voicefluencers. There's always a little bit of a juggling act here, so we are getting there. Here we go. And there's Sarah. Hi, Sarah.
Hi.
Welcome. Good to see you here. Thank you for joining us. All right. Well, I want to say hello to everybody. Here we go. And we're just waiting for Ilana as well to join us on screen. And she should be here any second. And there we are. Yay. We are. Oh, I spoke too soon. There we are. Hello, everybody. Good to see you. Good to see you all
Teri.
here. Awesome.
Hi.
Well, let's have some fun here to start us off. I want to go through with you, and either we're gonna learn a little bit about your nickname a little more, or one of your your fun. I'm gonna say stats. Maybe there's a fun stat. One of your fun facts about you. So, Sarah, you said that you've traveled to 5 continents, and then you were going to travel to the 6th. What's the deal? You've done a lot of traveling then. What's the deal?
Yeah. So I've been very fortunate to have gone to 5 different continents, and I was scheduled to go to my 6th one in April 2020, and then the pandemic hits. So I'll have to reschedule that for another time. So I still have Africa and Antarctica to get to.
And which one were you about to go to this year?
Africa. So.
And when's the Antarctica trip?
I don't know. It sounds kind of scary to go there, so I have to figure that one out.
All right. Well, Sarah, we had a chance to sit across from each other at that table a couple of is that like 2 years ago now at a conference, and it was great fun getting to know you. And I just remember that you kept on winning award after award after award at that one. So that was awesome.
Aww.
Anyway, thank you for being here. It's great to have you here.
Thank you.
We'll just go around in order here. So I see Steve Keller next. Steve.
Yes,
the
sir.
Audio Alchemist. What is the deal with that name?
With the power of sonic transformation.
Your superpower. That's right.
It's my superpower. I'm a big fan of Jung and archetypes, and Jung talks about alchemy as being really this transformative moment that happens when things collide. And in my world, that's blending sound science with sound art to help clients make sound decisions. So it's not magic, but it seems like it is when it's done right. So that's how I spend my days, kind of balancing between both of those worlds.
Awesome. Well, like I said earlier, we had a chance to speak a number of times now, and some of the work you're doing is incredible with regards to the way sound influences perception, and also your interest in sound and voice inclusivity and diversity. So I'm sure, hopefully there'll be some questions about that, because I think that can be very interesting.
Great.
Thank you for being here.
No, I'm excited to be here. Thanks.
Katy, welcome. The Botyguard. Love that name. And so let's hear a little more about that, but also you got to tell the story of how you proposed to your husband.
Yes. Well, thank you so much for having me. What an awesome panel here tonight, and just so excited to be here. So my background's in content and creative development. So for years, I worked with creators and brands to make different sorts of content across digital platforms. And now I'm translating that to virtual assistants and bots and whatnot. So I love bringing in that creative energy into voice as well. So that's how I came up with the Botyguard. And then, I actually 2 years ago, my husband is also a voice developer. And when I decided I wanted to propose, I thought a really clever way would be to do that through Alexa. So I did, in fact, propose to him through an Alexa skill that I deployed only to our house. And he did say yes. And now we're married and we're living happily ever after with Alexa as well.
I'm imagining if that was a public skill, things could have gotten a little messy for you.
Totally. And testing it, it was an interesting development process.
That is awesome. Well, there's a very interesting topic of conversation right there. So anyway, thank you for being here, Katy. It's great to have you here. So
thank you.
Steve, moving on to the next Steve. Welcome. And you've got a very interesting fact here as well. Something about NASA. What's going on with that?
Yeah, I did some work with NASA some years ago. And so I think your question was, what's one thing people don't know? I consulted with NASA and worked on a project for about 6 months, and it was super exciting. And through the process, I also got a chance to see one of the very early shuttle launches, which was a lot of fun, a blast.
Very cool. Very cool. Of course not. And here you are, Chief Dabbler. I think that one's pretty self-explanatory with Dabble Labs. That's a great name.
Yeah.
So,
We are an innovation, a technology innovation and education company. So we work with clients to help them explore new technologies that could give them a competitive advantage, hopefully.
Great. Well, again, Steve, thanks for being here as well. Awesome. And then Ilana, so good to see you again. I know we met a couple of years ago at a healthcare conference when you were a keynote speaker, and been able to follow your work over the years. And you are one of the top conversation designers as far as I'm concerned. It's so good to have you here. And so tell us a little about your name, Seamstress of Stories. I love that.
Thank you. I have a bit of a history of it going back until when I was getting into design. Somebody talked to me about marketing yourself and like, what's your point of view? What's your story? And then coming from design research, thinking about what are all the different stakeholders and how a designer's job is to stand at the center of all the stakeholders and come up with a creative solution for everybody. And so that's where Seamstress of Stories comes from. It's about, first of all, it's like this personal marketing thing that I came up with way back when. But I've also taken it as like a mission statement as a designer to bring together all those points of view.
Awesome. Well, thank you for being here. Thank you, all of you, for being here. This is incredible, and this is what an incredible group of 5 people here. All right, so we're going to get on with the content here and get on with the show. So what we're going to do, again, for all of you watching, hit that ask a question button, ask questions, vote on your favorite questions, and that's how we're going to determine who comes up on the screen now. So let's have a look here. And I see Greg asked a question. He says, what's an important thing about voice content that people often get wrong? Ooh, it might be good to have the 2 voice designers here. I think Katy and Ilana would be good for this one. So the way this is going to work is I'm going to say goodbye to the other 3 of you just for a few moments. I'm going to invite Greg up, and then we're going to get you all up shortly, okay? All right, see you soon. Okay, so Greg, I'm going to invite you up on screen. And there we go. Here's the juggling act, and we'll see. I think that's a great one. What's important about voice content that people can often get wrong? All right, and let's see here. Greg, are you joining us here? Let me make sure. There he is. Mr. Greg, you were a previous Voicefluencer as well. Good to see you. Can you hear it? Can you hear us okay, Greg?
Yeah, I can hear you fine.
Okay, fantastic. All right, awesome. Well, you know the way this works, Greg, we're going to put 5 minutes on the clock, and we're going to give you a chance to ask your questions to these other 2 Voicefluencers, and this will be an interesting conversation, I think. So, Greg, I'm going to let you take it away.
So, yeah, it's just, actually, I was hoping Sarah would be up here. She's like, the content guru. But
too many good people to choose from.
Yeah. And so it was just sort of, what is something about voice content that you believe people get wrong? Because, there are a lot of ways to do it well and a lot of ways to not.
All right. Katy, you want to start off?
Yes, for sure. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Well, hi, Greg. Thanks so much for this question. Gosh, I feel like this is a loaded one and we could probably talk about it a lot, but I'll try to keep it somewhat short. So when it comes to content, something that I've really noticed is different from content that you might produce, like a movie you watch or TV or digital content that you kind of ship and it is there and you're done with it. Voice is ever present and ever evolving and needs constant iteration. And also refreshing content. That's another area that I think I play a lot of voice games, as Teri mentioned. And I definitely pick up on, speaking of Sarah, actually, question of the day is a great example, right, of refreshing that daily content and keeping people coming back. I think keeping the content fresh and, we could talk about navigation and a lot of other elements around how to find content with your voice. But I think, a big thing for retention is making people want to come back and see what's new with your content. So, I'll pass it over to Ilana now and Sarah.
I just called an audible here because there's so much demand for Sarah's opinion on this as well. But Ilana, you go first, please. Let's hear what you have to say, and then we'll also get Sarah in here.
Sure. There are 3 things that come to mind. One is not aligning with the goals of your organization if you're going to launch a voice skill. The second is not starting with a real user need. Sometimes people get into voice just because they want to, think it's fun, think it's new technology. And then the third is not adapting your brand voice for the modality. So you might think of like a corporation that has the corporation style of talking, of interacting with its users. Typically, when you adapt that to voice, you want it to be more conversational, which sometimes comes off as more informal, and people are sometimes hesitant to adopt that style. But it's really necessary for a successful voice interaction.
Awesome. And over to you, Sarah. This is great. This is a 3-for-1 here, Greg. All right. We don't normally do this. This is a special exception here. All right.
Ooh. Thanks for the exception. No, it was great to hear everyone's reactions to that, because they're all coming from a very different perspective. So that was those were great perspectives. I just wanted to add in a couple things that came to mind for me is localization. A lot of people will say, I want to launch this voice application in all the English locales, whatever they are. And then forgetting that different, wherever you are in the world, you might have different terms for different things. You might have different phrases. And people will pick up on that right away. That if you're in the US and you've designed a voice experience and have launched it in the UK or in India, where there might be English speakers, you just have to make sure that your content is appropriate for those locales, and that the specific words you're choosing and the phrases you're choosing are appropriate for those locales. And then also, just one kind of random thing that came to mind was, like, people often write too long of sentences for voice assistants, where it's like a run-on sentence, and that's not how we speak. We often put in pauses here and there, even where there aren't commas, right? So that's one thing I wish more people would pay attention to, is just writing content and how we speak, and not how you write content.
Fantastic. Any other comments here? That was like, all three of you gave an answer in under 5 minutes. Like, boom, boom. All right. Any other comments?
I inspire efficiency.
That's it, Greg. Greg, is your puppet next to you?
No, my son stole it.
Oh, all right. It's all good. Well, okay, we beat the buzzer in this case. I'll stop the timer. And thank you, Greg, for the answer. And thank you to all of you Greg, for the question. And thank you to all of you for the answer. Great way to start us off. Thanks so much for being here, Greg. All right. See you soon. Okay, let's move along then. We've got, let's see the next one. So this one says it's specifically for Ilana. So we'll keep you here, Ilana. I find that voice designers tend to not think about, and Alan says, I don't need to appear on stage. Okay, I'm gonna invite you on stage anyway, Alan. If you wanna come on up, you're more than welcome to. This is a question around AR, VR, and audio as a means of input and output. I think I'm gonna bring Steve Keller on for this one, since we're talking about audio specifically. And I'll say goodbye to Katy and Sarah for a bit here, all right? Okay. Let's do that. Okay, let me invite you up here, Steve, as well. This is, again, the juggling. Hi, Alan. Good to see you. I'm just bringing on Steve.
Good to join as always, Teri.
Pleasure. You're a regular. I appreciate that. And you always have fantastic questions for the group. So appreciate that as well. All right. And Sarah, we'll see you in a bit. Okay. All right, Alan, you know the way this works. Alan's also another one of our previous Voicefluencers. And I'll put 5 minutes on the clock, and go ahead, kick it off.
So I was kind of struck by Ilana's comment about working with AR, VR, and audio, because I see so few people are talking about it. In fact, one of the things I see a lot of is the AR, VR people all seem to be, oh, I can manipulate things with my hands. And the voice people are all like, oh, it's all about what I can hear and say. And the two groups very rarely seem to be communicating with each other. How do we bridge these worlds? How do we make it so that we get audio working well with AR and VR, where I think it's a great use, there's a lot of use for that. And we help voice people understand that you can do visuals with voice. It's okay.
Great question. You touched on something that's really exciting to me. And one of the reasons why I got into AR, VR is because the industry is thinking a lot about smart speakers, and it's a very common device that people have in their homes, but there are so many different ways that people take in the world through other senses, like their eyes. And AR, VR is a really exciting, literal kind of construct of the world to be in. In terms of how do we bridge that gap, I'm having a little bit of trouble with the question, and I'll tell you why. And it's because I think that there are so many reasons why, like, does the designer have that technology available to them? Like, are they working in a space, are they working in a company that has AR, VR tools or not? In their product line, do they have AR, VR things to play with? And I think that comes first before bridging the gap. So let's say that designers do have access to designing for something visual. We don't even have to go AR, VR. We can just say they have a GUI, they have a screen. Why do things seem to be optimized for voice and then screens, GUIs are an afterthought, or the other way around? I think is also a part of your question. And again, I'm going to get at a precursor to this, which is how are teams set up? So are the teams set up to be talking to one another? Is the visual element separated from the voice element, or is it seen as one cohesive user experience and everybody is working together? So that's a barrier that people might run into, that a company could structure internally to come up with something that's optimized for the user and how they like to use different modalities. Now we'll get to your question, which is like, as designers, how can we consider more than one modality? And I think that this is where it's going in the future, where designers will design things for smart speakers, but then they'll also have to think about, okay, what does this experience look like? If there's a GUI display, how can that experience be adapted over, or how might it change knowing that there's another input, and also that the use cases may be different?
Awesome. Steve, just curious in your take on AR, VR, and audio, and what are your thoughts on it in general?
Well, I might step back just a little and say this isn't just an AR, VR problem. This is a problem in branding in general. I mean, how often are we developing visual brands, visual identities and assets for brands, and not thinking about the audio aspect as well? So in my world, I focus a lot on cross-modal research. How I can use one sense to hack another. Can I change your perception of flavor by what I'm putting in your ears and not just what I'm putting in your mouth? And if we begin to look at an experience more holistically, cross-modally with senses, then we begin to think about, well, how would these colors work with the sound? Or is there a scent? Why aren't we talking about scent with AR, VR? What about texture? How do we take all these perceptual pieces that come in from our sensory perception and combine them into a congruent experience? Or if we really want to mess with someone, how do we make them incongruent? I just popped a piece of green jello in my mouth and it tastes like liver, not like a lime, like I thought it would. So we have all of these sensory elements that we can play with. And I think it's just a matter of kind of stepping back and looking at the world as a reality rather than breaking it into silos. Because sound doesn't happen in a vacuum, literally. Nobody hears you scream in space.
And with that thought, no, that's great. That's great. Alan, great question. Thank you for that. And yeah, really, really great answers. Two great perspectives. And I appreciate you can really, you can tell that both of you have a lot of experience in these areas. So I appreciate that so much. Alan, always good to see you. Thank you for being with us.
Thanks for having me on, Teri. Take care.
All right. Take care. Great. Okay. All right. We'll dive into the question bank here again. Well, there's only a couple of questions here. This is unusual. Okay, put some more questions in there, folks. Let's go. You've got these 5 incredible thought leaders in voice space, and here's a chance for you to pick their brain, so to speak. So put in a couple questions, vote on your favorite, and we're going to keep rolling here. So. We've got Greg and Alan again. All right. Well, seeing that nobody else is here with a question at the moment, we're going to get you back up here, Greg. Greg, we cannot get enough of you. Come on up here. And we are going to talk about Clubhouse. And for Clubhouse, let's keep, we're going to get both Steves on screen. So we'll say bye to you for a bit, Ilana. And I'd like to bring up the other Steve as well. So we're going to do that. And here we go. Juggling act. There we go, Steve. And we're going to invite you up on screen here as well. Okay. So, Greg, long time no see.
Yeah, wow. Teri, it's been a while.
It's been a while. Let me reset the clock. And what do you have to ask this time?
Well, I'm seeing, audio channels like Clubhouse. There's a lot of stuff where we're sort of going back to the audio only experience. What are some ways that we can incorporate voice bots to enhance that experience?
Great. Steve Tingiris, do you want to start with that one? I think that one's be good for you.
I love that question, and have thought a lot about that as well. One of the thoughts that I had, and I brought this up on a Clubhouse chat, I guess, not too long ago, but somebody noted in the conversation that they were doing a lot of stuff on Clubhouse and they kept getting the same questions over and over and over again. And we got into a conversation about, wouldn't it be cool if there was like a virtual version of you that people could just like log in anytime and ask and get answers to questions. So you would take the questions that had previously been asked and answered and train a bot on that corpus of questions. And then users could pop in at any time, even when you're not there, and ask questions. So as you do more on Clubhouse, you're sort of building up this corpus of knowledge that other people could use to get answers kind of on demand, even when you're not there. So I thought that was a really good idea, and that's my answer. Less than 5 minutes. I'm sure there's a lot more awesome uses for voice bots in these types of environments, but I really like that one.
So you're saying like I could have an Ask Virtual Greg room going all the time?
Yeah. We built an Alexa version of like an Ask Me Anything skill, and the way that it worked with that was the user would ask a question. The assumption is that the first time a question was asked, there wouldn't be an answer. So it would email the skill owner the question, and then the skill owner would answer the question and build it into a question that could be answered the next time somebody asked it. So sort of a like organically evolving Ask Me Anything. So the same general idea, except you would take the audio, do a transcription of it, and train a model so that pretty much the same thing could be done, same general idea. But yeah, Greg, and Ask Me Anything for virtual Greg.
Cool.
Awesome. Yeah, over to you, other Steve.
Yeah, I don't much know that I would like that, actually. I want to talk to a real person. But I guess, if I thought about an AI bot for myself, what I would like to do is have an AI bot that's tied into the Google base, so I could just ask myself a question. Steve, what's the latest research on such and such? And Steve would reply based on what it was while I'm busy doing something else, instead of having to Google that myself. But then that's essentially what Alexa does. It just would have my own voice. There's a part of me that's a little old school with some of this, where I do feel like I want the interaction with a person. Because if somebody's asking me a question, I'm thinking about it. I'm thinking about what's next. Oh, what's something that I didn't think about there? I would totally miss that if that interaction was happening with a bot and not with me. So can we do it? Yes, because we can. Should we? I don't know. That's a whole other question. But again, I tend to approach things more from psychology and that standpoint. So yeah, I'm not sure that I have a adequate answer for that question.
Am I allowed to respond to Steve? Is that,
Yeah,
for sure. Go ahead.
Yeah, as long as you can do it in under 50 seconds.
Yeah, Steve, I was going to comment, but if I was somebody that wanted to ask you a question and you weren't available, that it would be great to be able to tap into your experience and knowledge on demand, which you can't necessarily always do just through Google. Like, individuals have unique perspectives and knowledge that I think you could train into a knowledge base that would be unique on a subject matter expert to subject matter expert basis. And I totally agree with you. If the option to talk with somebody personally is there. That beats all conversations at this stage in the game with bots. But in the absence of you being available, it would be great to be able to tap into your experience and knowledge. That's my perspective on time.
Well,
No time left, so you're not allowed to respond back to Steve. He gets the final word. But you're both named Steve, so I don't really know we don't really know who I'm talking about anyway, so it doesn't matter. All right, great question, Greg. Thanks for joining us again, and maybe we'll see you again. Who knows? In the meantime, thank you for being here, and I appreciate the question.
Thanks, Teri.
All right, good stuff. Let's see. Let's go into the question bank here, and Alan, we've got you, and this one's actually got quite a few votes. So, Alan, whether you like it or not, you're coming back on screen as well. And this one is specifically for Sarah and Katy. Okay, great. So we're going to say goodbye to you two Steves, gentlemen, for a bit. And I'm going to invite up Sarah and Katy. So let's do that here. Alan as well. Long time no see.
I know. Yeah, there are some, other good questions. Come on, people. You can ask great ones.
There's
an amazing group tonight.
I have so many questions in my head, and I'm struggling to hold them back, but don't make me pull in my own question bank. This is up to you guys. All right. So this is a great one. This is a great question, Alan. So I'm excited for this one. Yeah, go ahead. Why don't you kick it off?
So quickly, as a developer, a lot of what I do when I work with my clients is help them build their workflows out. So either they've got existing content that they need to get into audio somehow, or they want to build audio things and we need to build the tools to get it there. And I guess I'm kind of curious, what are your experiences about that workflow? In order to, for question of the day, what's the workflow to get the question of the day in? For updating the art museum, what are the things that you need to do to make sure that you can manage that? What are the content management systems? What tools are you building, or do other people need to build to really manage voice content that may be different from other content?
Sarah, do you want to go first for that one?
Yeah, so that's a great question. And so Matchbox.io is a startup, and I still feel like we're a little scrappy of a startup in that we use whiteboards, we use Google Docs, and we use kind of our own content management system that we built that then feeds into where it needs to feed into. I always admire more complex processes that people have put together because they're working with all these different clients, but we do everything in-house, right? So we're B2C, we create things and put it out directly for the user. So our processes are a little maybe messier than larger organizations. But yeah, whiteboard, Google Docs, a lot of just talking it through, a lot of testing things out. And, I'm curious what your experience has been, Katy.
Thanks. Yeah, this is such a great question. And I love that startup life moment where it's all about the whiteboards and just like being scrappy, right? Like Post-its, I was going to say, came to mind. Like when you're first starting out, it's like pencil and paper, maybe. But yeah, to your point, Alan, like with Art Museum, actually, that was a small team, right? It was just myself and John G. So we created our own system in Airtable, actually. And also on top of that, have started using Notion heavily. And it takes a lot of time and work to build out these proper content management systems, right? Where you're feeding in the right content, making sure it's getting in the right place, updating it. And I will say Airtable has been great for that. And I also love using Notion, and I've been using it since January or so. So still fine tuning and evolving. And just another perspective I wanted to bring with my past experience working with brands, brands are thinking about their content, or content creators as well, like months in advance, in marketing, it's like, we're thinking 6 months ahead. So teams are already thinking about the holidays, right? From that perspective, though, also all of these new platforms from Clubhouse to, TikTok, creators are kind of like going on the fly and filming stuff as they go. And then a lot of it is in the edit. And I saw in the comment, I think someone mentioned earlier up, like thinking about how to make content native based on the platform it's going to be on, which is so important. And I'll also, again, plug my Twitch stream. Also, the Voice Den is a great example of this too, right? Like capturing a ton of content live is such an interesting way to create this archive and then pull out the best clips. So that's exactly what I do when I have a 2 or 3 hour stream. I scrub through it, pull out the best moments, and then I share like a 30-second clip on Twitter. So that's a really micro example of just like from a content creator perspective, but I think it can apply to voice content as well. Way off topic from your original question, but I hope that kind of answered in some way.
No, I think so. I mean, it's all into how you get the content from creation to use.
Yeah. I just wanted to add, we try, because we're small and scrappy, that we're able to be more nimble. Katy, you mentioned a lot of people are planning 6 months out. Like, no, we're much tighter planning out than that. We're constantly creating content, but we're able to manipulate that content based on if something happens in the news and we don't want to have content out there that might be inappropriate for that week or whatever, we can quickly change it out. We're just very quick with that.
So important.
So good. And yeah, you two are great experts when it comes to content, obviously, just given what you have done with your skills. So super question, Alan. And yeah, great response again. So thank you, Alan, for being here a second time. Way to go. All right.
Thank you as always.
Good to see you. All right, let's dip into the question bank. Oh, by the way, I'm just going to mention this now because Katy commented on clips, and I've never actually mentioned this before, but if you look down in the bottom left corner of your screen, you should see a thing that says clip moment. If you don't see it now, I think you can see it now while it's live, but if not, when you go back and use the same link and look at the recording, you can actually clip 15 seconds clips of the Voice Den anywhere you want. You basically scrub through it just like what Katy said, and you can share them on social media very, very easily. So that's speaking to exactly what you were talking about, Katy. So yeah, really, really helpful. All right, let's go into the question bank. And the next one is from Katy. Oh, all right. Let's see what we've got here. Okay. Katy, that's a great question for Steve. When the next time I get Steve on stage, we're gonna ask him that one, all right? Because that's just fantastic. This next one though, I'd like to invite Laura up. Laura, I'm gonna invite you on screen. And here we go. And I'd like to bring up Steve Tingiris. And let's bring up, who shall we say? And I'm also gonna bring up Steve Keller. It's gonna be the two Steves again. So I'll see you two ladies soon, all right? All right, so let me bring them up here. Steve and Steve. Okay, here we go.
Hi.
Hello, how's it going, Laura?
Good to see you.
Good to see you too. I think this is the first time I know you've been in the show before, but I don't think you've been live on screen before.
Chatting it up, but no, I haven't been on screen, so this is exciting. It's a first for me.
Awesome. Well, I'm super excited to have you here, and you've got a very interesting question that I think can be actually taken a number of different ways. So,
I can, and I want you to go any direction you want with it. So
right.
I'm curious, Steve, and I can say that to both of you. What is the hardest part of your development cycle? And what do you lean into when you're stuck and need to get unstuck? And maybe it varies over time, so you can feel free to talk about any point early in your career, right now, whatever it is.
Great question. Steve Keller, you want to start us off?
Yeah, I mean, I think probably the hardest part in the development cycle is breaking the bad habits that the clients have to begin with. So much of what I do at the start is education, and trying to design a process particularly when we come to, creating a sonic identity, let's say for a brand, and getting them to break out of thinking about that as the asset rather than thinking about it as a strategy. So, to me, it's kind of the teach a person to fish versus give them a fish. Sonic strategy doesn't start with your ears, it starts with what's between them. And so just kind of helping clients to rethink sound, reframing it, that's part of the battle. But once you get there, everything changes, very, very quickly, and it gets really, really exciting. So that's often the toughest part for me is just getting off the ground and getting the clients to buy into, check everything at the door, because this is a journey that'll take you somewhere you haven't expected.
That's great. And other Steve?
My answer is going to be a little more tactical. I think most of what I'm focused on is the implementation and the development side of these systems. And so I would say a couple of things. The content management is tough with this stuff because the content is not just written content, it's audio content. And Catherine said earlier, it's constantly evolving and extremely nuanced. It also came up earlier that, if you're supporting different languages and different locales, things like the difference between an elevator and a lift, and, these seem like really small things, but they become significant when you're building out these experiences. And a lot of what we do are like customer support systems. So it's a big challenge right now, and it can't always be scripted the way that you'd like, and it's never done. And so managing those details, I would say, is the constant challenge for us.
Great. And I've got a little bit of time left. What do you do? What do you do when you're in these situations? So Steve 1, tell me how you manage the requests that are coming in from the client and have to set their expectations. You've done that a number of times, I'm sure. What's the best path to get them to rethink things?
Am I Steve 1?
You're Steve 1.
So, I like to think of myself as Steve 2. I think usually it's just a matter of reframing. A lot of times it's taking something that the client knows somewhere else and reapplying it in a different way. So thinking about sound from a design perspective, and thinking about how are they treating visuals in their brand. Okay, so let's think about sound the same way. You've got a visual style guide that helps you know how to consistently apply your marks so that it builds memory structures. Do you have that for sound? Do you have a sonic style guide? Let's talk about KPIs. You have KPIs for everything in your business. Do you have a KPI for sound? Do you have a KPI for what behavior you want the sound to produce? Do you have a KPI for what perception you want the sound to produce? Do you have a KPI for how you want the sound to build equity in the brand? If I can get them to start thinking about KPIs, that changes everything, because now they're thinking about outcomes. They're thinking about, oh, how do I measure that? And then when we get into how are we measuring the sonic impact and the ROI, that changes it.
I like that.
Awesome. Great. So good to see you, Laura. Thank you for joining us on screen. Appreciate the question.
Good to see you. Thanks.
Great discussion. Thank you. We'll see you soon. All right. Take care. All righty. Let's see. Oh, okay. Oh, it's 10 to 6. Time always just flies near. Okay. I think we have time for probably one more question. And then I've got a couple of announcements, housekeeping things before I send everybody all over into the spatial audio augmented reality voice in. So this is kind of a fun one to end with. I'm going to bring Katy up to ask Steve a question, and I want to be part of this conversation as well. So I think it'll be a fun way to end things. So let me invite you up on stage, Katy. You know what? We don't normally do this, but let's do this anyway. Let's get everybody up here for the last 5 minutes. And I think we're just going to have a fun conversation here. So let me invite everybody up here. I think this will be a fun way to cap this off. All right. So we got Sarah, we got Steve, we need Ilana. All right. And there we are. And Ilana should be joining us soon. Okay. Katy, I'm going to let you kick this off because yours is just a really fun question. And then we'll just have some fun for the last 5 minutes here. And then if there is any extra time, I've got some questions. But why don't we just have a little fun conversation to finish things off here? So go ahead.
Love it. So Steve Keller, and I'm interested to hear from everyone's perspective. So I love your hat, and I noticed that you often wear hats, and I too am a hat lover and normally a hat wearer. But in this, time we're living in of the consistently virtual conferencing, I found these cans are the only way I can really appreciate the audio of all the different environments I'm constantly jumping to and from in my, virtual world. So I'm curious, like, what's your take? And also just working in sound, like, how does that set your expectation for all the different audio environments and platforms that have come about? And just any thoughts you have on that.
Yes, I am a hat guy. I travel with multiple hats. How do I wear a hat and get high quality audio? Bauer and Wilkins speakers are great with a good amp. We're always thinking about earbuds, but it's not always that. But in conferences, I usually go in with the expectation that what I'm going to hear through the screen is going to sound like crap anyway. A lot of the platforms, Zoom, you don't hear it in stereo. So I just don't worry about it. As long as I can hear the conversation, that's fine. To be honest, the AirPod Pros work really well for me. The noise cancellation works well, and the frequency response is good enough. And that works fine. I do have a pair of the AirPod Maxes, which I wear in the comfort of my own home without a hat when nobody can see me. And I think the Apple Spatial Audio is kind of interesting. I'm going to be, interested to see where that goes. The earbuds work great for me. And sometimes I just wear one, so then I'm hearing the sounds around me as well as what's coming from the screen, and I can respond that way.
I think Katy and Steve need to have their own show. Because that was
I'm in.
Let's do it.
Down.
Yeah.
Where do I sign?
Did anybody notice? I saw that question coming up. I actually changed the hat that I was wearing. People probably didn't even notice that. But
how many hats do you have, Steve?
Right now, here I've got 3. I probably have about 20 at home.
Wow.
You guys could swap hats for every show too.
Yeah.
Keep it interesting.
Yeah, that could be fun.
I got to invest in the new AirPod Pros, and then it's endless possibilities.
The AirPod Pros are great. The new ones are great. The old ones were not so good. The new ones are really good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because these fit in my ears. The first ones, I hated them because they didn't have the silicone tips. They didn't fit in my ears well. This is totally different.
Hey, Ilana, what are the implications for different types of earbuds and headphones and stuff when you're looking at AR stuff? Do you specifically think about that?
About what headphones I'm wearing?
If somebody should be wearing headphones or AirPods, or if they're not, how does that influence the way you design for AR, or does it have no influence at all?
As a designer, I like to have the best headphones that I can, because there are so many nuances in voice, and different headphones pick up on different elements of TTS, or even just a person speaking, and you want to make sure that it sounds the best possible, knowing that everybody's headphones are going to degrade it differently, and that applies just across the board, no matter what I'm working on.
Cool. Great. Any other comments on the headphone or hat issue, which is a very, very, if there's one thing we learned today, it's the importance of wearing a hat. So
hats don't look right on me. Do you have recommendations on a hat that I should try? That
do you have an affiliate link? Are you selling them?
Like beginner hats?
Yeah. No,
Hats
I'm not.
don't look good on me normally, so
Yeah.
I'm curious.
I'm not a stylist, so I finally landed on this pork pie hat. I did have fedoras for a while, but the pork pie kind of suited me, and that's kind of become my trademark.
Bucket hats are making a comeback this summer. Might be worth a try. Sun hat, can't go wrong with a sun hat.
Sun hat. I'm gonna try.
Thank goodness for the buzzer. All right. Well, with all of you on screen, actually, it's a great opportunity for me to just thank all of you. I've got a couple of little housekeeping things, a couple of announcements here before we all move over to the spatial audio space. But thank you to each and every one of you for being part of this. I mean, this show would not exist without the participation of people like you. So that you would take some extra time or some time out of your day to be here is just fantastic. So thank you very much, and I'm sure the audience appreciates it as well. So. We will see you over in the audio space, but for now, I'm going to say goodbye to the 5 of you so I can just have the screen to do a couple of quick housekeeping things before we wrap things up, and then we will see you over there. All right. Thank you so much. Okay. See you soon. All right. So what I'd like to do is, just like I said, I just have a couple of quick little announcements here. And the first one is, you may be aware that Ian Utility and I, we are putting on a conference on Clubhouse, July 29th and 30th, VoiceCon Live. It's going to be running around the clock. And so if you want to be part of that, it is not too late to still apply. VoiceCon.live is where you go. And the reason I'm mentioning this now is because we have an incredible group of partners for this. You can see those on the screen: Audio Brain, Digital Assistant Academy, Human Behavior Club, the biggest club on Clubhouse, Spatial Web, Voice, VoiceBot, Open Voice Network, Project Voice, Voice Spark Live, Voice Brew, Voice Tech Podcast, and Voice Launch, of course. So, and the reason I wanted to mention this to you is because our next episode of the Voice Den is actually on July 28th, the day before, and it's going to be a special edition where we have many of these partners join us for the event. And I see Alan just asked a question: what sort of topics are being discussed or looking for? We're looking for really anything that has to do with voice tech, conversational AI, and the intersection of fill in the blank. So Alan, it's quite broad, it's quite open, but there's certainly going to be a lot of people from our voice community, in addition to new people that have been part of the Clubhouse community that I've met there. So yes, there's going to be a lot of overlap of our community with a new community, and we're looking for things that have to do with voice technology, conversational AI, etc. Like I said, the reason I wanted to mention this to you now is because I want to introduce you to our lineup for Voicefluencers for session 15. So here they are, session 15 of Voicefluencers. So there you go. You can see it's more than our normal 5. So it's going to be a quick one with lots of questions and lots of activity. It should be a lot of fun. Finally, I want to let you know a little bit of detail about the augmented reality space that we're about to jump into. This is what it looks like if you haven't been there before. So you're going to be able to actually enter the voice den. And again, I just want to give you a couple of quick tips and tricks for when you're going in there so you can move around. As I mentioned earlier, all the music and the sound that you hear in the immersive experience is written and produced by Audio Brain. So thank you. It is best experienced with a wired headset, headphones, earbuds. That was kind of along the lines of my question earlier. You do need wired headphones to be able to hear the spatial experience at this time. Any microphone will do. And use Chrome unless you're on an iPhone. In that case, use Safari. You can click on your avatar when you get in there. You can name it. You can change your photo. You will see a mic icon in the bottom left where you can check your own sound and adjust your volume. And probably most importantly is move around. Use a keyboard. Excuse me. Use keyboard arrows if you can. If you have a keyboard to move up, back, rotate left, rotate right. You can also use, if you don't have arrow keys, W, S, A, and D for the same thing. You can also click and drag if you're using a mouse, or you can scroll or zoom or swipe or pinch to zoom in and out of the space so you can see it. And when you arrive, you're going to be arriving at the entrance. So it probably will be loud. There's going to be a bunch of people right there. So I encourage you to go inside, walk around, mingle, and explore and see if you can find all those things there. Find the drum set, find the deck, find the ocean, find the voice den set where this is filmed, and just have a lot of fun. All right. So the link to that is thevoiceden.live, and I'm going to sign off with some credits. Thank you so much for being part of this. It's always a pleasure to bring this to you. Thank you for the support to Amazon and to Google. And I look forward to seeing you next time, but also in the spatial audio space right now, thevoiceden.live. See you soon.